प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत् पञ्चीकृतमहाभूत सम्भवं कर्म सञ्चितम् शरीरं सुखदुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते पञ्चप्राणमनो बुद्धि दशेन्द्रियसमन्वितम् अपञ्चीकृतभूतोत्थम् सूक्ष्माङ्गं भोगसाधनम् अनाद्यविद्यानिर्वाच्या कारणोपाधिरुच्यते उपाधिकृतया गण्यम् आत्मानमवधारयेत् पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा वपुस्तुषादिभिः कोशैर्युक्तं युक्त्यावघाततः आत्मानमन्तरं शुद्धं विविच्यात्तण्डुलं यथा सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा न सर्वत्रावभासते बुद्धावेवावभासेत स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत् देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धि प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम् तद्वृत्तिसाक्षिणं विद्यादात्मानं राजवत्सदा व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा व्यापारी वा विवेकिनाम् दृश्यते भेषु धावत्सु धावन्निव यथा शशि आत्मचैतन्यमाश्रित्य देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते सूर्यलोकं यथा जनाः.
Ignorance, which is beginningless and indescribable, is called the causal body. One should understand the Atman to be other than the three conditioning bodies, upadhis. So we said in the last class that causal body or Karana Sharira is inexplicable, indescribable. This should be kept in mind, though there are various ways by which we try to understand, we try to infer it, but we cannot just capture it in essence. This is the basic definition itself, it is given like that. Because it does not exist as a thing in our perception or conception. It is not something we think of. It is not something that we see or hear outside. So does it mean that it does not exist? That also you cannot say. So it belongs to that category. So it is inexplicable that way. One's own inherent nature, one's own original nature, ignorance of that is this. Unaware of your original nature, that state is the state of causal body, a complete ignorance. It is homogeneous, it is devoid of any thoughts. That is why we said that when it is homogeneous, this causal body as of a king or a beggar, both are same, a illiterate and a literate, both are same, because all the differentiations come up only upon manifestation. This being the unmanifest, it is absolutely homogeneous and there is no difference at all. It has got no size or no shape, whatever it is avidya. Avidya is ignorance. In one sense, you can say it is the non-apprehension. Non-apprehension means not understanding it as it is. So we said that the original nature is not understood as it is. That state is called as non-apprehension. Non-apprehension refers to this only, in essence, the causal body only. See, when the root of emotion, the chart comes, we say that this paripurna is your original state, and the ignorance of the state of paripurna creates a void. A imaginary void, we say. From the imaginary void, the thought comes, then all the explanation comes. Thought goes into attachment, into desire, all the thing comes. Now, we also, when we say that, we say when you feel a void for lack of money, the thought goes to money. When there's a thought of, when there's a void you feel for food, hunger is there, then the thought of food comes. When there's a void you feel for companionship, the thought of your companion comes. So this is understandable only when the thought comes. What is that exact manifestation of the void? But void is void for everybody. So that state of void which is homogeneous of everybody can be equated to this. So it is a state of absolute ignorance or void. From this arises the thoughts. So it is given as the karana or the cause for the subtle body, as the cause for the further gross body. Gross body is nothing but further grossification of the subtle body. So subtle body and gross body, which is Sukshma Sharira and Sthula Sharira, both are emanating from this causal body. So it is called as Karana Sharira. And then we said it is Anadi. Anadi means beginningless. Don't ever try to understand where the first vasana or how it came and all. It is just not possible. As we said in the last class, there are 6 things that are described as Anadi with reference to the study in Vedanta. It is Brahman, it is Maya. Once that Maya aspect comes, everything apart from that you can describe in this way. Brahman is Anadi, Maya is Anadi. The potency of Maya being in Brahman is always there, Anadi. It is also beginningless. Meaning you cannot ask that when did Maya come into Brahman or something like that. That is also Anadi. When the combination comes, there is a tattva called Ishvara, which is Brahman only in association with Maya. That is Anadi. Moment a tattva called Ishvara comes, simultaneously a tattva called Jiva comes. That is Anadi. And the sambandha between Prakriti, Purusha, Jiva, Jagat, this which is going on between the macrocosm and microcosm, this is Anadi. So all these 6 factors are considered as Anadi. But what is interesting is, as far as a sadhaka is concerned, all the other things except Brahman, including Maya, that means once you are able to cross over Maya, everything is absorbed into it. Brahman alone exists. So the term Ananta is used only for Brahman. Ananta means infinite, endless. Anadi, opposite is Ananta. But from the point of view of our study now, all this is true. Ishvara, in other words, without your surrender to Ishvara, you cannot cross over Maya. That is also true. But once you cross over Maya and you understand Brahman alone exists, nothing else exists. That is the state there. So all this is stated as Anadi. Anadi means beginningless. This verse says that Upadi Tritayad Anyam. Apart from these 3 bodies, these 3 upadis, these 3 equipments, that is the gross body, subtle body and causal body, what remains that you understand to be Atman. So Atman cannot be really pinpointed as it is, but this is the process by which we understand gross, subtle and causal bodies and negate them. That which is in the core of these things, which is a witness of these things, which makes this thing function, without which these things are not possible to understand, not possible to function. Understand that witness consciousness to be Atman. Now, very simply, for those people who are questioning, not with the attitude of arrogance, not with the attitude of skepticism, but genuinely, if people want to understand this tattva called Atman, because it's a concept now, Vedanta Treatise, first chapter of the part B, Human Composition, gives certain brilliant thoughts, derivatives, to understand what this could be. So, we have also discussed this before. With reference to these equipments, body, mind, intellect also, we always say that it is my body, it is my mind, it is my intellect. So the moment you are able to say something is your possession by using the possessive pronoun my, that only means that the possessor is different and the possession is different. Just as you say my mobile, you say here. So that means it is very clear that I am not the mobile. But it is very clear to understand, you separate the mobile. But that is when you will understand the implication of it when a person is deeply attached to his mobile, or a child, or whatever it is. When the mobile breaks, he breaks, means what? He does not consider himself to be separate from the mobile. To that extent, the attachment has gone. That is what is the effect of that is what is happening to him. But let us say with knowledge, you can say that this is just an equipment. It has a life, man. You use it, but you don't get attached to it. You can make him understand, and you can segregate the mobile from him and show. Like that, it is what is Vedanta trying to show by these three verses. Segregate that the body is also your possession, man. It is not you, really. As we said, subtle is the mind. The mind is also your possession. It's your agent. It's the agent through which you function. It is not you. It is bhoga sadhanam. It is the instrument of experience. Causal body is disjoint. It is not you. So the moment you say my vasanas, my intellect, my mind, my body, this my which you use as a possessive pronoun only segregates you and your possessions. So you are not this. This is a way by which we are able to understand. It is not a mere casual word that we say. The word that we say has a deeper meaning to it. So this is the first argument that he gives, that the possessor and the possession is different. And then the equipments that we have, we constantly witness it. When we witness it, we see that they are undergoing constant changes. Body undergoes through change. Constantly it goes. Every 5 years or 7 years, there may be a total overhaul of the system, but it is not once in 7 years or 5 years we change. Cells are being replenished every moment. New cells are created in every organ, and tissues are changed like that. Biology says, medical sciences say. The person who has come in and the person who has gone out are two different bodies, even at the physical level. Though you may not be able to observe the change. That is different. But if you have the equipments, you will be able to observe the change. How the hair has grown, how the nails have grown. You can very clearly measure if you have that equipment on a daily basis also. So body is going through constant change. Mind is in a flux of change all the time. With reference to not only flow of thoughts and emotions, one time in a happy mood, one time in a sorrow mood, not just that. It is what is likable for you now also changes later on. A person always likes to sleep with his blanket on, but when he is going through a certain type of a fever, he's sweating, he doesn't want the blanket on. In another type of temperature or his body condition, he wants the blanket on. The same is the liking of the mind. Same is the dislike of the mind later on. Constant flux of change. What you may relish today, you don't relish tomorrow. A person who was your friend today is an enemy tomorrow. Like that, there is a constant flux of change. All that is, even if you assume that the world has not changed, your mind has the potential to change. Therefore, your relationship with the world also changes. Mind is in a constant flux of change. It may not be as let's say, fast as the body, but it does change. It is in a constant flux of movement of the mind is obviously there. Intellect is also going through constant change. Though it may not be as fluid as the mind, when higher knowledge comes, your vision expands, you do change. People who are ideologically inclined to a particular person or a party, they change their stance based on reason. Intellect changes. His knowledge widens. Everybody who, when they are not earning, they are socialist by nature, communist by nature. They will want everybody's wealth to be distributed to everybody else. But when they start earning money, they become capitalists. Why does the ideology change? It does change because he understands what it is to earn money by himself. With that awareness, it changes. So intellect also changes. It is very interesting. Subtle intellect we say only with reference to pointing of the Brahman, transcendental. At least that should be constant, right? Fixated. It is fixated. Subtle intellect means it is fixated. Does it change? How?
Everything is changeable except Brahman.
Brahman is unchangeable. I am asking, is subtle intellect changing?
As you are expanding, as your vision is expanding, it is changing in that sense.
Changing in the sense, the fixation of the subtle intellect is that which is able to conceive the transcendental reality. It may not be, gross intellect may pinpoint this versus this within the world. It may choose between 1 and 2. That is gross intellect, and that may constantly change, and there are enough pairs of opposites also. When it comes to terrestrial versus transcendental, that is subtle intellect, and subtle intellect is able to somewhat point to the transcendentally. As I said, it will not understand God, but what is it beyond the world? Like this, these questions and all we say is arising out of the subtle intellect. So subtle intellect's fixation is in the transcendental. Does that fixation change?
So, but it's sometimes not fully developed. So that's a change. As you're developing and you're getting understanding, that's a change. No?
In that sense, right? See, yeah. Sorry?
Convert to a different
Not change in that sense.
No. We are not talking about the conversion of religion here.
For example, if you can, when you start thinking subtle and the transcendental, one of the things that you think of emptiness is like space. But then that is beyond space. If you are going from space to the beyond, or trying to think beyond space, so that is a change in that sense.
Yeah, see, that way, conception of space is again coming into the realm of the world, which is gross intellect. I am not talking about it. As somebody said, the intensity changes. It is the intensity. See, what happens is, the more the subtle intellect gets uncovered, that's why we don't talk about development of subtle intellect, we say unfoldment or uncovering of subtle intellect. When subtle intellect uncovers itself, the intensity of your thought of the reality, your attunement to reality, your attunement of even emotions as a bhakti, all these things definitely is intensified, you can say. So in that sense, you can say, if you consider that as a thought, which is again forming part of the equipment, that also changes. So the question here arises as to what observes these changes, because every change is noticeable only from a changeless standpoint. A train which is moving can be seen as a movement from a platform. But if two trains are moving at the same speed, you cannot observe the change. Though both are moving constantly, it may be very high speed also, you don't observe the change. The observation of change is only from a static platform vis-a-vis a moving train. So similarly, when you see the movement of the body, movement of the mind, movement of the intellect, there we posit there's something within me which is observing this, which I am not able to visualize now. So by definition, that subject within me which is viewing all these known objects, these also come under the realm of the objects which is changing. What is that? That is indicated as Atma. So first is the possessor versus the possessions. Another is the changeless versus the changing. And then third is obviously the equation of what you use as the first person singular pronoun I. I, you use constantly throughout your life without in essence understanding what that I is, because that I is used always with something on the right hand side of the equation. So with reference to your stages in life, you say I am a child when you are a child, I am a boy or girl when you are a boy or a girl, I am a youth, then later you say I am a man, I am an old man. All these are showing actually different personalities. But we need to understand, because the body of the child is not the body of the old man. The thoughts and ideas and desires of the child is not that of the old man. Yet you say, I am child and I am old man. So who is this I who is constantly identifying with it? Again, same principle only. You go deeper into that. So there must be something which is beyond my body, mind and intellect, which I refer to as I. Similarly, all our experiences, I see, I hear, I smell, all these are different experiences at the physical level. I think is a different experience. I feel is a different experience at the mind level, at the intellect level. And all these are using different equipments. As I said, ears cannot substitute eyes, vice versa. But all are connected to that I. Who is this I? Who is constantly identifying with all the experiences. So he is the real subject who is using all these equipments to experience that I, capital I that we use. Similarly, we go through the 3 states of consciousness, which is very interesting phenomenon. In waking state, you may be identifying with a totally different person and a different name. Chances are in dream, obviously it's a different personality, but sometimes it can happen that you may identify yourself with a different personality altogether in terms of name. You may consider yourself to be president of UK or US and you can think like that. And in dream, you can imagine like that. That's a different person. But there also in dream, you say, I am so and so. In waker, you say, I am so and so. In deep sleep, it is, I am nothing, which you don't say, but that is there. So this I constantly witnesses the 3 states of consciousness where you identify with that I. That side of the equation is unchanging. So who is this I? This I is the term that Vedanta or in Sanskrit we use as Atma. Apart from these 3 equipments, that which is there within you, which we can say is the witness, which is the witness consciousness within you, functioning within you, understand that to be Atma, he says here. Yes, sir.
Sir, we are giving example, we say that we associate with body, these workers are saying that you are not the body. When we say my mind, you are not your mind. My intellect, you are not your intellect. When we say my causal body. Why? Because causal body, the mind, according to all these parameters, the Sukma Sarira, which the body consists of 15 or 17 different parameters, which include I. I means the Atman, Buddhi, Chitta and Kara also. Now this itself is a product of that void, that avidya. So we can never say that my causal body.
No, my causal body also we cannot say. We can say in the sense, what are your vasanas? These are product of my vasanas, we say. In that sense, we use the term my vasanas. But that I am this vasana, if you want to identify, that happens during the deep sleep. But at that point, there is no conscious expression itself. So that statement doesn't come. But when your vasanas are understood from the manifestation only. But a very interesting point that you said in this Nirvana Shatakam that we chant of Adi Shankaracharya, where he says, where he negates everything. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. Nacha shrotra jivve, nacha grana netre, nacha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu, chidananda rupa shivoham shiva. This keeps on as a chorus continuing for 6 verses. He has negated everything. Na guru, na shishyam, na muktir, na bandha, everything. In the first verse, it's very, very interesting. He says, Mano buddhi chit. I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the chit, memory, conditioned consciousness. Ahankara. I am not I. That's what he is saying. What he essentially saying is, I am not I. I am only Chidananda Rupa Shivam Shivam. What it means, so therefore it's a very interesting derivation there, that The ego or ahankar that we refer to as I, which is a small little self, small I, is only in association with the equipments. So therefore, even in the deep sleep, we identify with that ego only, which is in the unmanifest state. So therefore, my vasanas come into that picture only. But I am apart from all these things. I am the witness of my deep sleep also. I am the witness of my subtle body in the dream also. I am witness of the gross body in the waking state also. I am different from that. So very interesting statement. Think about it, because he is negating what you primarily refer to as I am not I. I am not I means I am not I that I am normally referring to myself as.
Can we say ego is the causal body?
Ego is the ahankar. Causal body is that which is the cause of the subtle body. Ego is aspect of the subtle body because you are aware of it. Ego and the conditioned consciousness, though it is not a prominent thought, which we discussed in the last class, maybe you are not there, which is not a prominent thought like intellect or mind, it is running in the background. So it is part of the causal body, not the, it is part of the subtle body, not the causal body. Yes, sir.
Sir, causal body is product of your vasanas.
Causal body is vasanas.
It's the vasana.
Is vasanas.
Vasana. And also ignorance. Listen.
Ignorance is vasanas.
So till you do not know your vasanas, you have to first know what you do not know to get rid of it. So then, how does one, understand? You have to first know all your vasanas, and then you start getting it one by one. So you think that kind of a risk attached to vasana itself, you will not be able to get rid of it. So if danger comes and something which you do not know, again the ignorance can be bliss here. So being not, I'm not able to explain that at times, once you know your vasana, which is the drawback in it, doesn't it become more difficult to get rid of?
Correct.
That can become a big challenge.
So here the basic misunderstanding is, it is right that you need to get rid of your vasanas. It is right that the vasanas, as long as it is there only, it is going to prompt you into further action, further birth and death cycle also. And vasanas is the ignorance which need to be, completely wiped off. All this is correct. And remember, we cannot know the vasanas per se. Per se, we cannot know the vasanas. We can only know the innate, inherent nature of us through the manifestation or expressions. A person who is constantly inclined towards certain thing in certain way, according to the intensity and power of it, we may come to a conclusion that he has particular interest, particular inherent nature in this direction. Like that we can come. But the discussion of whole thing with reference to getting rid of the vasanas is not revolving around vasanas. It is revolving around gaining the knowledge of the self. So all that we need to focus on is, instead of, as the 5th verse of Atma Bodha said, now you have to just focus on one more additional thought in you, which is like, I am the self. That is the thought you need to strengthen. You have to only make that flame grow further and further. As a result of which, all the unmanifest vasanas which is there as a sanchita karma in your system, they get automatically burnt. So you need not worry about what are my tendencies and what are... See, because this is one thing which I am also personally not able to understand when some people talk about certain therapy by which they go into past lives. It's regression, some analysis, some psychiatrist and all they go to. They say, suppose they say, if you have a person has a particular fear, he is constantly afraid of a dog or constantly afraid of space or whatever. See, these phobias and all can be cured, they say, by going through this regression analysis, and they hypnotize him and make him go through various things, and then they understand, make him go through his childhood or go to previous life, and you say that you were bitten by a dog from the time onwards, so it is not there. So in other words, what they are trying to do is trying to take it out of the subconscious level, something, so that you may be able to get rid of this. Here we are not talking about vasana or anything. I'm just saying this is a thing. Now, one thing is, even assuming everything that we go through now is a product of our past karma and past action, that is a general formula that we need to understand. If it is not traceable to this Janma, it is there from the previous Janma. That is the theory of karma. theory of reincarnation and everything is based on that. If you are undergoing certain agitations in the mind, that is also your own making. If you are going through certain heavenly state of mind, that is also your own making. Somebody is born in a very conducive atmosphere, that is also he has deserved it. Somebody is going through extreme suffering and that atmosphere, that is also his making. All this we understand in general, and that is what we need to worry about. Now, but what see, in general, if you have caused mental agitation to others, your mind will be agitated. This is the formula. So, if you have caused headache to others, you will have headache. I'm just boiling it down to this thing. So, but what exactly happened so that there is a recurring headache for me? You need not go into a past life regressive analysis if you understand this is what it is. What we must focus on now? What we must focus on now is past is fait accompli. We cannot do anything about it. I have a small regret about it if I know what I have committed, but then I need to move forward so that I must focus on what I must do now, so that if I understand the cycle of karma, what I do now is going to get deposited as a karma for the future. This is what I need to worry about. So I need not go into all my past lives to understand who are my relationship, what all I did and what are the actions that I did. It will be a too much of heaviness in our mind if we kindle our bygone memories. Already we are having the past worries of this life. You will be unnecessarily adding the burden of even previous life. If at all there is a science I am saying where you can bring about this, because I have not done that, I don't know about it. But if you can do it by kindling, what is it of that purpose? Okay, you have understood, you have done certain thing, but then you must only do the remedial actions for it now. Now, exact thing what you do, then all that you need to do is you consult a superior intellect if you are not aware, and say that I am having this, what are the things I must do? In Shastra also there is something called as the Prayashchitta karma, like that they say. In general, what Vedanta says, past is fait accompli. Because of our selfishness and other thing, we have gone through certain thing. From now on, how I can make my life useful for others. From now on, how I can make myself positive. So that let the past and its effect continue. But from now on, I am going to change the effect. This is all we need to focus on. Exactly like that. With reference to the vasanas, it is a product of all the karma that you have deposited in the past. So it is like visiting it again, if you want to know it. And when you say by knowing it, I want to remove it, by knowing itself, you are bringing it out into the thought again. See, suppose if a person wants to leave a habit of smoking or alcoholism, you need to give him only a better substitute by which his thought is focused there. Suppose you talk to him about more and more about smoking and say it is bad and other things, you are only centering his thought around smoking more and more. Like that, it should not happen that suppose is there a way by which you are able to kindle your vasanas and know this is what your vasanas is. You are unconsciously strengthening the vasanas, which is not what you started the exercise for. So the exercise is not trying to find out our vasanas and getting rid of it. That is applicable in terms of getting rid of your weaknesses. Okay. Certain weaknesses that you have, you must be aware of it. A person is having, let's say, specific things like anger, like alcoholism, like excessive meat eating or excessive indulgence sweet or something. Then there are specific ways by which you need to work on it and come out. This is mind's weaknesses. But if you want to remove the vasanas itself, which is causing all these things, you need, by definition, Sanchita Vasana can be burnt only by knowledge of the self. By the sharp arrows of Tattvamasi, says Swami Ramtirtha, that I am the self, it is going to burn off all those vasanas which have not yet fructified into the manifest state. The moment you strengthen the vasana, they form your prarabdha, and then you have to go through again another janma, going through the experience where once it has fructified, you have no chance of burning it there. You have to go through the experience. But if they have not yet fructified, you have a chance to burn it then and there, for which the focus should be only on the knowledge. So therefore, just focus on the knowledge of the self. You need not go into, again, if we dig into our vasanas, we do not know what all areas of interest, how much intensity. It may be a very futile exercise. Again, go into that anirvacha. You cannot even conceive it, not know it. All that we know is there is something to be gotten rid of. I know I have a debt that I need to clear. So let me just put on the effort to earn money now and keep on depositing the money into the bank. Sooner or later, my debt is going to be cleared. That must be the focus. So the focus must be only to gain knowledge of the self positively. Don't worry about getting rid of the vasanas. That is automatically going to happen.
So that part of vasana, for no karma is required. I mean, it will automatically get burned because of your focus on the self.
Correct.
No karma is required for that.
Correct. Knowledge alone burns the vasanas. Knowledge alone, in the second verse, again go back to Atma Bodha, he says, knowledge of the self alone is the means for liberation. There is no other means for liberation. And knowledge of the self here refers to your awareness at a higher level. So by constantly focus, so karma, bhakti, jnana, all these are exercises by which your awareness is awakened towards the higher. So it is the knowledge of the self that is going to burn the vasanas. Yes, sir.
About past, if we, let's say, talk about future. Okay. So the same rule applies for future as well.
Which rule?
Don't think about it.
Say knowledge alone will cleanse you of your Sanchita karma. Okay, but the prarabdha, what is balance, I mean the future of my life, what is available or what is balance, that I have to anyway undergo and, bhoga means
You are saying post-realization.
not post realization. Before realization, but post my life at the present moment. Till such time I die. Okay, like what I'm saying is
You are remaining prarabdha vasanas, you are saying.
like let's say in case of Buddha, when he was born, there were astrologers who came and said that he will be a person who will change the world. Okay, but he has to go out of that palace to change the world. And his father tried to keep him inside, but he couldn't confine him to the house. He went out and he changed the world to that possibility. Same way, it is the future. Somebody, an astrologer predicts the future for you. We can deal with the past by saying that the past vasana knowledge is the pinpointing thing which will wipe out your past vasana. Now, is there anything to wipe out the future stuff which is...
No. That it will happen in the future. On what basis he is saying? That is also based on the past only, right? So the dealing is always with the past. Future, what is there in store? You are saying a astrologer may predict something. Can we change the course of it? Like that you are asking. Now, see, what is it the future? See, it is very easy to say, once the future you are going through, it is very easy to relate it to the past. This was there in your karma. We can very easily say that. So there is never going to be a solution. Unless past you can know because it's fate accomplished. Future, how can we know? We cannot know. So this question doesn't arise for the future.
In this case, we can even look at what definition of the future. Future is past modified.
Past modified in the present. Continuation of the past modified in the present is the future. Past you can define this moment backwards, but future you cannot define. You can only say it is the continuation of the past modified in the present. Ignorance, which is beginningless and indescribable, is called the causal body. One should understand the Atman to be other than the three conditioning bodies, upadhis. We'll chant verse 15.
पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा.
On account of its union with the five sheaths, pure Atman appears to be like them, just as a crystal takes after the color of blue cloth, etc., when in contact with it. Verses 6 to 15 forms the second topic of Atma Bodha. Material equipments superimpose the world upon Brahman. It is the material equipments. So he explained it with reference to what is that superimposition up to 10th verse. Then he explained what are the bodies that are the equipments in the 11, 12, 13, 14 verses, 12, 13, 14. And now he is explaining the same thing with reference to a different angle. That is the angle of Panchakosha. Again, in the same chapter of Vedanta Treatise, you will find this in a detailed explanation. These three bodies, gross, subtle and causal bodies, if you look at it from another angle, they form the sheaths. Sheaths means covering. A sort of outer dress, scabbard-like thing for a sword. A sword is kept inside the scabbard. It is a covering for the sword. It is not in contact with the sword as it is. It is different from the sword. The sword is something different inside. Like that, they say, the Atma inside us is covered by 5 sheaths. Imagine a person is putting on 5 vestures, 5 type of garments, clothes upon him. There is a thin vest that he is wearing, then he is a inner sweater that he is wearing, then there is a shirt that he is wearing, then there is a coat that he is wearing, upon which he puts a shawl. 5 things are there. But he is not any of these 5 things. All these 5 things can be removed one by one to expose him as what he is. Exactly like that. The 5 sheaths are covering the Atma like that. In a very nice way, these are explained in terms of 5 concentric circles in the diagram. So it is not, as we said, mind and intellect, they themselves are not visible equipment. So you cannot say one circle is mind, another circle is in it. It's not circled that way. But in general, these sheaths are to be understood as certain things which pervade. These are sheaths which pervade within our body, and also when we say pervade, we cannot exactly confine it, though the locus of all those things is within our body. It is not confined to the body also, but it is there within the body, the locus of the body. That type of thing is the subtle and subtler aspects of it. So the gross body that we understood can be equated to the outermost sheath, which is called as the food sheath or the Annamaya Kosha. The subtle body, which is the Sukshma Sharir, is the next 3 sheaths, which is the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is going to touch the gross body also, but it is essentially the subtle body. Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha and Vijnanamaya Kosha. That is the vital air sheath, the mental sheath or the mind, and the intellectual sheath, the Vijnanamaya. These are the 3 things that are in between. And then the last one is the Anandamaya Kosha, which is equivalent to the causal body. Beyond these sheaths, now this is another way of looking at it. It is in detail probably taken from the Taittiriya Upanishad. As we said, all the aim of all the Upanishad is only to expose us to the Atma. It is a Atma Vidya only. And each and every Upanishad is the highest knowledge revealed through the mouth of the Rishi, and then it is passed on through the teacher-disciple, preceptor-disciple lineage. But each and every Upanishad deals with it in a different angle. That's about all. And the angle from which Taittiriya Upanishad deals with Atma Vidya is this Panchakosha Viveka. Panchakosha Viveka means discrimination. Viveka is discrimination. Panchakosha Viveka means to discriminate these 5 koshas not to be me. That which is inside the 5 koshas, which is the Atman, is only me. This is called as the Panchakosha Viveka. So the outermost sheath is called as the food sheath. By definition, food sheath is called so because it is born of the food. It is sustained by the food. Ultimately, it may become food for the other creatures also. That is this body. Food sheath is made up of this muscles and bones and sinews and blood and what all it is, these 5 elements in the grossified form what you see. This is the food sheath. How it is formed? It is formed by the product of the food digested by the father and mother. From there it came. The union produced this, and then it grew in the womb of the mother. By what? By the food consumed by the mother only. Through the food. Then it came out. Then how it is sustained? By the food we eat only. It is growing. Like that it is. So, this is completely related to food. See, this Panchakosha Viveka, you have to understand it from the point of view of the Upanishad student. The student, when he is asking about what is truth, the master asks him to do tapas, to do contemplation and find out the truth for himself as to what is really you. Let us say, though it is not the statement in that Upanishad, but let us say the master is giving the answer as the truth is you. You are the truth. Tat Tvamasi. He is coming for the knowledge of God, knowledge of the self, what is transcendental, and the equation is given as you are the God. Tat Tvamasi. So, his duty now is to find out that you, if you say I am God, who am I is the question that now he is dealing with. Therefore, after much contemplation, maybe not in the first case because it's very obvious that this is me. Who do I refer to as me? This is my body. This is me. Food sheath. So therefore, first answer he comes up with is that I am this. Is this the truth? The master says, no, neti, not this. That means he says, he little bit eulogizes what food is, but he says, go further, contemplate further, go deeper into your personality. Then he understands there is something which is sustaining this food sheath. The food sheath is given respect only because that person seems to be there inside. So that must be me. And what is that? That is the next level he says as pranamaya. I am this prana. The prana is me. This is what he comes as the next conclusion. And then he submits to the master. Master eulogizes pranamaya and he says, but you go further. You contemplate further. Because we go to sleep in the night, prana is functioning, but our awareness that this is me is not there. Isn't it? Your radio is on, you are listening, and you are off. You are sleeping. The radio is going on. Nobody is listening to the song. Prana is functioning. If the prana had awareness, it would have listened. So that means there is something which is, prana is just a matter which is being used. So at the next level only he understands that there is this mind. When we are sleeping, there is something where the thoughts are not there. Only when the thoughts are there, I seem to be having that awareness. So therefore initially he comes with the conclusion that the next kosha, which is the mind, that is me. The emotions, the bhava and other things that are associated with it, that is me. Then the master, he goes and submits, and the master eulogizes the mind. And he says, contemplate further. Contemplate little further. Then he goes back and contemplates. This mind seems to go by itself and come by itself as though I am not in control of it. It seems to be functioning by itself. When the mind is completely involved in something, I tend to lose my awareness also, as it is. But amongst the same thought flow, there is something which is much more critical, much more sharp, much more which is aware. That conscious thought which is able to arrogate that thing to me that I am doing this with a conscious mind when I am doing this. So that he terms as next level. He concludes that I am that Vijnanamaya. Beyond that mind, there is a conscious entity which is again in the realm of thoughts, but it is more conscious. I am applying myself, and only when I apply myself, that thought comes. Therefore, that must be me. Not those thoughts which arise by themselves and go away like that it is. This is the conclusion he comes at the next level. Then he submits to the master. And then the master eulogizes what is Vijnanamaya. Because in each and every stage you have to understand the master is encouraging him further. Out of that encouragement, what happens is his awareness is actually increasing. He is further and further growing. And then he says, contemplate further. Contemplate further. Now he is not able to go any further down. Because the ultimate is, you have gone to the extremity using the thought to the depth of the thought only. Isn't it? A eagle cannot outsoar the atmosphere. Eagle can fly high and high and high. Wherever it flies, that is atmosphere. It cannot go beyond the atmosphere. But he is saying that go beyond, go beyond. How do I go? So he says, I really do not know. I really do not know. That from which all this emanates, that is unmanifest. That must be the me. He comes to a conclusion. That must be the me. And that is that stage where probably I am experiencing the bliss also. As in deep sleep. In a thoughtless state. Where I am not dead. Where all these thoughts are present. But where I do not know. They seem to go somewhere. And make themselves hidden somewhere. And from where it all emanates. That unmanifest entity, as far as he is concerned, he is ignorant of that state of the Supreme Self at that point of time. But that I do not know, whichever it is, but I am experiencing a bliss at that point of time, that he identifies as him. I must be that only. Because in the waking state, in this state of consciousness, I am not able to catch it, but I am now I'm coming to a conclusion that I must be that unmanifest from where everything comes and everything goes into, that must be me. This is the final conclusion. So this is a Anandamaya Kosha, which is the Vasanas, which is the bliss sheath as far as the individual is concerned. Why it is called bliss sheath? Bliss sheath because you undergo bliss. And that bliss is completely different from all other happiness and bliss that you go through in the waking and dream states. Your maximum bliss in this world, which we define as cessation of agitation, what happens is that the mind comes to a state of equanimity by contact with an external object. That is what we define as bliss. Otherwise, we are agitated. In other words, a happy person in the waking state is one who is least agitated. And a sorrowful person is more agitated. So, it is a difference in degree. So, when a person has agitation that he wants cigarette, he wants a toffee, he wants whatever he wants, there is a palpitation type of thing in the mind. He is agitated. And when does that agitation get resolved? When he contacts that object. When he contacts and fulfills that object, what happens to the mind is what you experience as bliss. So therefore, for the mind to be not agitated, even temporarily, whatever be the thing, you need to have external contact. It's a contact-born pleasure. A contact-born pleasure. I don't have money. When I get the money, I get bliss. So it's that money which satisfies me at that point of time. Like that, any other thing, he has an emotional contact or an intellectual contact or a physical contact. There is a contact which is able to satisfy my present level of agitation. When I am experiencing that, I am experiencing a happiness. You can say even heaven, but that is happiness there. But that happiness or heaven is in the realm of your experience. You are experiencing that. And what is the instrument of experience? The mind. The mind is still there. So when the mind is as close to the straight line as possible, when it is not agitated, equanimous, satisfied, that state is called as happiness or bliss in our normal experience. Imagine that state of mind where the mind is not there at all, because all the agitation is caused by the intensity of the mind only, right? Mind goes very, very high frequency and low frequency, then there's more agitation. Like that it is. When it is as close to the line, as smooth as possible, we say that's a state of bliss. If that line becomes thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and finally it is not there, that must be a state of definitely a high level of bliss, but that is definitely different in degree, different in kind as far as any other type of bliss is concerned. This we experience in deep sleep. It is not beyond our experience. This we experience in deep sleep. In deep sleep, there is no thought. That we slept well, we come to a conclusion after we get up. That's about all. But at that time, what it is? I slept like a log of wood. It was complete bliss. Even a person who is going to be hanged tomorrow, if he gets into a sleep, big if, but if he gets into a sleep, he will be without any agitation or sorrow. That's why it is called as Anandamaya. It is not the real Ananda of the self-realization that you experience. It is a state where it is the absence of any thought as far as you are concerned, but the potency of the thought is still there. The potency of the thought is still there because it is going to come up tomorrow. But at that point of time, what you go through, that is bliss. So he comes to that conclusion, that state of bliss that I go through, that unmanifest state of me, from where all this comes from, which is referred as Anandamaya. Anandamaya means it is filled with Ananda, as it were. It is a modification only. Modification in the sense, it is not the pure bliss of self-realization with awareness a person is going through. It is like that. And that is what is me. He comes to that conclusion. And Anandamaya is eulogized again by the master. Then little bit he says, you have come almost there. Find out the root of that also. So in other words, the aim of the Upanishadic master is to lead you to that. Probably after this he will not come. It is not that he is fed up with the master. He is now on the verge of it. He is going to find it. He has realized once he has known the answer. What is the he is that. He is going to come. So it's a very, very interesting analysis this way. This is the way by which one has to contemplate and go inside. That is why, so same thing you can say, sir, what is the big deal? Gross body, subtle body, causal body is the same thing. Five koshas is the same thing. Waking, dream, deep sleep is the same thing. It's all different ways of saying the same thing only, correct? You catch any one of it, but go step by step. You have to stand in that thought. That is probably the difference between that student and we are. We are doing it as a Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha as a weekly class we will do. And then today, India-Pakistan match is that is what is more relevant and important. So where does all this go? So, but that student was not that. He was not satisfied. He was not satisfied till he got that answer. So his query made him go through probably sleepless nights in a positive way till he found out that answer. So Swami Ramtirtha says that in India, for the rishis, who are the real philosophers, anything that they understand at the theoretical level is only half understood. Unless otherwise they gain that in reality, in practice, in experience, in anubhava, they are not satisfied. That, he says, is the chief difference between key difference between original Western philosophers and Eastern philosophers. Not all. See, every philosopher, when he goes deep and thought into it, he is going to go nearer to the truth. That is true. But in general, you will find the Western philosophers, particularly of the 18th, 19th century where he lived, they are maybe also great thinkers. Okay. And some truths and other things they would have brought out also. But sometimes you will not be able to reconcile what they are going through in their personal life and what is the philosophy that they are teaching. It is not that they are in a very high state that we are not able to understand, like Krishna's life. Not like that. They are completely different at a practical life level, but what they teach may be something very high. So what happens is that he says, though from the student's point of view, you should be able to receive the knowledge from any source and take it per se on the merit of it. From the point of view of one who is giving the knowledge, it will not impact the audience or impact the listener as much if it is not coming from the depth of his experience. That is there. So he says, what is the reason? After Westerners came to India, he says, some of them were very much enamored by the flora they saw in the Himalayas, various new flowers and various other shrubs and various things that they saw there. So they took the plants or seeds of it and then they planted in the European mountains also. And then he says that flower also came up there in that similar climatic conditions, whatever it is there. Same color, same brightness, all those things is there. But he says one thing is missing. The fragrance that you get in the Himalayan valleys, that fragrance is missing, though from a distance both are same. So he is using this like a metaphor to say that the knowledge that came in the Himalayan valleys through the mouths of the rishis, it was implanted there and it is coming through now the mouths of various other thinkers there. It is the same. It appears the same from a distance, but what is missing? The fragrance of renunciation is missing, he says. Here, when you study the Gita, you know when it comes from the mouth of Krishna or Vedavyasa, whoever, as you get deep into it, it invokes the renunciation in you. That is the test. The test of any Shastra is, it is going to invoke that experience in you. So he says that fragrance is missing there. So why I was saying it is, we have to be not satisfied only with the theoretical knowledge. It is the first step. We have to go deep into the subject till we realize the self, and for which all these methods and all the books like Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha are kindling our thoughts. When you go deeper and you try to catch something, hold on to it, don't leave it. Because, see, certain things, maybe I would have said the same thing 10 years back, 5 years back, and now, and it was the same thing that you understood. But probably even at the theoretical level, we have not got it into our system in a very clear-cut way. When I say that, it applies to us when we listen to Swamiji in the course later, 10 years later, 5 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later now. Certain things don't sort of stick to it. And it's the same logic he is giving, it's the same words that he is saying. Why not? Because you have understood, your intellect is capable. You have to court and live with it. Only when you live with it, you are able to sustain it. So therefore, we say that it is not a mere intellectual exercise. Along with your emotion and your whole personality, you have to sort of live that experience. In each and every aspect of your life, this should come out. Otherwise, it's a very beautiful science book, like a thing you can say. Very subtle science. Panchikarana, normal science doesn't teach. This science teaches. Normal science doesn't teach about sattva, rajas, tamas aspect of the space and other thing. This book teaches. You can think in those lines. But this is not a mere science book, though it is science. It is a yoga shastra, you can say that. In Bhagavad Gita, after every chapter, we say the yoga shastra. It is a shastra of the yoga. Yoga is the union with the self. So the shastra or the science by which you are invoking that union with the self, to that experience, our study must go into it. So Shravana, Manana, Nitidhyasana. Listening, reflection, then contemplation, culminating in meditation, realization. Till that point it should go. So now it will make sense why Swamiji asks us to now listen to this 3-year course as this thing, e-learning program. All the students are doing now, not only here in the academy, all senior, junior, everybody. You go through reflection and all that is fine. Having gone that, you have to get through into your system again and again. And since we are in the subject, I'll say, maybe I'll pass it on in the next email to all. For the Indian students, there is a new scheme that probably they have introduced. Indian students means Indians. You can sign up for the course with a monthly payment now. And probably the lectures are open as it is. Meaning, if you have capacity, you can absorb more also. Though it is not recommended, you can. So instead of paying the annual fee and studying or listening to the academy lectures, you can pay a monthly fee and do it. And when you finish the first month, you can renew in the second month and continue with that.
And is it available on the machine or is it again on the
Machine. It is
because the other one is only on the phone. And
No. It is not an app. It is this thing. Website you have to go to. Then they'll give a login, password, and everything. You may listen to it in a iPod or
but
you can do it in the machine. So ideally, that is what it should be done, because it is after attending a few months or so you will have the entire material. So material is here. Why do we need a class? Why do we need a satsang? Why do we need to keep that constant thought with it so that we don't lose touch with that reality in some form or the other? By God's grace, by Guru's grace only it can be achieved. So we are using the technology now for this effect. If you are able to quote the knowledge on a daily basis, where Swamiji has given in the public lecture, but obviously in academy the depth of the lecture will be a little more. The same fall of the human intellect, governing business, Vedanta treatise, you go through with the master there, it is just again living that knowledge again. It will make sense like. So there is probably, and for those who have already known this, there will be an inbuilt reflection in it. So it is not merely a Shravana. Since you are already familiar with the subject also, you will be able to relate to it. So there is a constant reflection directly to it. So a way by which you are in constant touch with the knowledge, that is what is going to elevate our awareness. So Panchakosha Viveka has to be understood that way. Now, I leave a question with you, which is for your own finding out. As a person goes deeper and deeper inside and he identifies with the next kosha, his awareness actually increases. So when his awareness increases about himself, the world that he inhabits, see, the moment you say, I am this, therefore I am experiencing something which is the world. I am part of that world. So when I identify with this gross body, this food sheath, I am part of this world, which is this terrestrial world. It's very clear. Like that, you try to find out what are the... This is Stula Sharira, normal Sharira, food Sharira. This Sharira, when I am identifying with, I am an inhabitant of this world. This world. When I identify with Prana Sharira, who am I called at that time, and what is the Loka that I am rightful heir to, which is what I am experiencing. When I go to the mind level, what is it there? When I go to the intellect, what is it there? When I go to the bliss sheath, what is it there? Think about it. If we get a chance, we will discuss.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the bliss sheath, when we are in deep sleep, we experience that bliss, that is thoughtlessness, right? So this thoughtlessness in the deep sleep is covered in ignorance, right?
This thoughtlessness is ignorance.
Is ignorance over here. And in the bliss sheath per se, it is with knowledge, full knowledge, right?
Bliss sheath per se, no. That is Ananda Swarupa. That is bliss. Sat Chit Ananda. That state is self-realization. It is bliss.
It is bliss.
It is bliss. It is infinite bliss, if you want to call it.
So what will be the experiential difference in this ignorance and that bliss?
The very word is the difference. It is experiential, that is not experiential. That is the difference.
It's an opinion. Like, suppose you are in a room and some speaker is turned on and satsang is coming. Okay, but one way of getting learning, like what we say in front of a machine or something. One is directly facing face to face in the guru who is speaking and I am here. In olden times, this was normally the practice. Now, the word satsang, can we say this thing in present day standard? This is a satsang.
Yes, I mean, in the sense, since now technology and other things is part and parcel of our life, everything is interconnected, and so we can use, I heard in one lecture that a person who has been giving Bhagavat, Ramayana and Bhagavad Gita and other lectures for years together, so he is still alive, he is still continuing to give, and in between all his things got recorded and then it came in a cassette, now it is in a CD form, and then pen drive, another thing, it is there. So he says, before you listen to the lecture in the cassette, you put 2 flowers there also, he says, because what it is saying is Krishna is inside there. Like, it's a very nice bhava to that way. So it is not just so in other words, as who was saying, I don't know, some Sadguru or somebody in some lecture, he was saying, I do not know the statistics, he was saying, in technology, we can use it positively and negatively, but more than 90% and other things you use for unwanted purpose. Unwanted in the sense, those which will take away our energy. It is not giving anything to add on to our energy. Like that only we are wasting the energy. But 10% it is useful for this. Like a mobile phone, it can be used positively, negatively, like that it is. So that way, we can use it as a satsang. Though there is no, substitute for having a face-to-face transaction. Like Upanishad means Upanishad. Going next to the Guru and sitting there. Upasana means going there. Similarly, now they give the temple darshan and other thing in the computer also, but going to a temple is different. That frequency, the vibration and the atmosphere there, that all is different. But if by any chance this is not to be used as an excuse, I'm not talking about e-learning here. If you can join the 3-year course at the academy, that is the best, I would say. But for those who cannot do it, this is the next best option. Weekly class is the next option, like that. So at least try this, like that it is. But it is a satsang in that. We'll conclude.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya
पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।